Hello, this is Astro Breeze, Carrie, and we are in our astrology study group. And we are today, I think, is going to talk about one of my favorite topics. I love medical astrology because we all have problems, and it's nice to track it down. It's nice to start getting some correspondences of our astrological knowledge with body parts. So we're going to talk about that today, and then we're also going to talk about just kind of something as like a rule of thumb. We know that the quincunx, what sometimes is referred to as the inconjunct, but the quincunx is the one of them. I'll just say that the major one that's a weird angle. And we know, and if you don't know, I'm going to tell you, it's that weird 150 degrees apart. It is, you know, that the opposition is 180. You know, it's across the circle. If you cut the circle in half, circle is 360. If we cut it in half, we have 180. And that's the opposition. Now, either side of the opposition is is a weird place, and I'll show you in a second a few different ways. But there, if we went from the 0 point to the 150, that would be one of them. And then if we continued to 210, there would be the other one. The 210 is like going 150 the other way around. And if you don't get that or anything, don't worry about it. You'll see it later. But it's just this weird angle, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to start with Aries, and we'll just go through this. We'll just kind of go through all of them, and this will make more sense. So if you imagine, you know, the wheel, right? Your astrological wheel, and then we know it. We kind of set stuff up that Aries is over at the 9 o'clock position, over on the left hand side. We kind of used to thinking that, and then Taurus is the next spot. You know, the next house going down underneath the horizon, and then Gemini. We go that way. We number or we order the signs in a counterclockwise manner. But anyway, this will just give you something in your head, and we'll go to a picture in a little bit, but I want to go through this. So we know that Aries is a cardinal fire sign, and if we go across the zodiac, we would be on the opposite, which would be Libra. But on either side of Libra is the quincunx, or that inconjunct, or that 150-degree angle to Aries. So one way it's Scorpio and one way it's Virgo. So if we go to the Scorpio way, we know that Scorpio is fixed sign and it's a water sign. And then Virgo is a mutable earth. So as you can see, none of them have anything in common. You know, you have one of all the elements. There's a cardinal, a fixed, and a mutable. And then we have three of the four elements. We have fire, earth, and water. So if we think, well, what are we missing? You know, what element would we be missing? And I just put it off to the side. It would be air. And we can just kind of run through some of these together and see that. So that might be a component of something to bring in, you know, when we're looking at a quality or of an element to fix something, you know, to kind of remediate or to remedy. That might be a good way to think about it. But we'll look at the body parts of this in a little bit. I'll just give you an example. Say somebody, Aries, you know, rules the head and the face. We'll go into this more specifically, but this, I just want to get us all on the same page. An Aries complaint might be acne. You know, you've got the face, you know, the head, and it's, you know, red, inflamed acne. All right. So we go, okay, that's the Aries thing, but we're not going to think about it like maybe an Aries thing. We're going to like, well, what's causing this? You know, that's what we always have to ask whenever we have a problem. What's causing this? This is the symptom. And knowing, you know, being a healthcare practitioner for a long time, like 4 decades, I had to think about it the other day. It's like, whoa. I've seen a lot of patterns, a lot of things. And one of the most common things of something like that is coming as like toxicity. And it's like, I'd always say a toxic bowel. You know, it's like you're not pooping. You're not pooping enough. You're not having the fiber, or you're having things that your body can't clear out the bowels. And that is a Scorpio area. You know, it rules the anus and the intestines, and which we'll go see in a little bit. So we can see how like an Aries problem, like, you know, acne might manifest as a Scorpio. I should say that, you know, that is a symptom. It might be a Scorpio problem, you know. So we have to go into the Aries system and help do some colon cleansing. But you can see how that inconjunct would be something just, it's not going to exacerbate the fire. It's like fire, you'll see it's not going to exacerbate anything on the face, so to speak. It's going to fix it through water. That water energy is going to put out that fire. And then we have a different element, instead of a cardinal, it's going to be, a more sedative, a fixed element. Okay, so that's kind of the nature of this, so we can start tracking things. But let's just look at all of this just to run through it real quick. So we see Taurus, it's like a fixed Earth, and the planets that are quincunx would be Sagittarius and Libra. And everything will be a cardinal fixed mutable. You'll just look through all of them, but they rotate. And we'll just be missing an element on each one. So, this one you go, it's, fire, earth, air. So this one would be missing the water. Okay, we go to Gemini. Here we go. And then we have Gemini's two inconjuncts are Capricorn and then over to Scorpio. And I'll try to comment just a little bit on some of these things here. But again, you see that cardinal, fixed and mutable, they're all there. And then here we've got air, water, earth. So we'd be missing the fire. And this would be an interesting one too, because we're going to learn that like Gemini there's a lot of nervous system energy and lung energy. And then, Capricorn, we have gallbladder and earth and things solidifying, crystalline deposits, minerals, calcium deposits, uric acid deposits, things like that. And then in Scorpio, we've got, we already talked about the toxic bowel. So interesting that, we would have the Gemini, the lung problems here could also be, I always think of that too as another manifestation of a toxic bowel. When people are coughing and hacking, that is a manner that if it doesn't come out normally, it's going to come out abnormally. So if it manifests oftentimes as the respiratory tract, because that's something we do constantly. We breathe all the time. So if your bowels are not cleansing efficiently and you have a lot of mutable air Gemini qualities, it will, you'll have more weaker lungs and you'll tend to get more congested when you have a toxic colon. Where like Aries, it's like you can see that they're, those are both masculine signs. So this masculine sign, Aries, might manifest, with its Scorpio tendencies as a inflammation to its face. Okay, so I'm just going to go through. I mean, there's so much on all this, but I think when you start seeing some parallels, it really makes a lot of cool sense. Cancer, it's a cardinal water, and its two signs of inconjunct are Aquarius and Sagittarius. So we have, again, you can see the cardinal, the fixed, and the water, and then we have water, air, and fire, and we're missing earth. So just good to note. Okay. Leo, fixed fire, and its two is Pisces and Capricorn. And then we have a cardinal fixed mutable, and we have water, fire, earth. So we're missing air on this one. And then we noticed that this fire, we were missing air. Okay, because of the other two. Okay, Virgo was mutable earth, and then we have our Aries on one side, which we already went through with Aries. We already know that Aries is inconjunct there to Virgo, so we're going to see it with Virgo as well. And then the new one is Virgo to Aquarius. So we have fire, earth, air, and we're missing water on this one. All right, Libra, it's cardinal air, and then we have Pisces on its one side and Taurus on the other. And you'll notice that the two, of course, the two inconjunct ones are going to be sextile. They're going to be in at least feminine, the same quality, the same, polarity, gosh. So you'll notice that these are both feminine, at least, but they're not to this. It's like there's a feminine Pisces, masculine Libra. So, how things go back and forth, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine. So you can see that would be going all the way around here. All right. Scorpio, we've already talked about it's Aries on one side and then Gemini on the other. We already saw that up there too. So now we're going to just start seeing these combinations. So we're missing Earth on this one. You can see we don't have any Earth. Okay, Sagittarius. So, and then you can think of this too as like, like if you have this as a rising sign, like, so like your Sag, if you have Sag rising, you would have one of your bad planet or bad areas or areas to watch, I should say, is Taurus and Cancer. See, and then also, if you were Sagittarius Sun, um, that's going to be the weakest time of the year for you. It's like if you're Sag, then the opposite time is Gemini, right? That's your 180. So you would have Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer is all the opposite. You got those 3 months. You got the one in conjunct, the opposition, and the other in conjunct. So those are weak. The weakest time for every planet would be that opposite sign plus these in conjuncts. So it's like if that's your sun sign, that's going to be the time of year that's going to be more, oh, you'll be less vital. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Capricorn, one side is Leo, one side's Gemini. So we have fire, earth, air, and we're missing water on this one, missing water. And then we have Aquarius. We have, it's, the fixed air. And we got Virgo on one side, Cancer on the other. And then we would be missing fire, earth, air, fire. Yep. And then our last one, Pisces, is mutable water. And it has Libra and Leo as its inconjuncts. So we have fire. No, we're missing earth on that one. Okay. So this is just to kind of drill that in your head. And then let me give you another screen share, new share. Now, this will be much, do I want to do this? Yeah, let's do this first. Okay, I'm going to give you this to look at and we'll start to put some of these together because this is where it's kind of cool. Probably have to do a couple of these, but I'm going to at least go through the areas and then start to pick out some of these things. Like we already talked about one, like acne, with Aries coming from a toxic colon, Scorpio. So let's just think about some of these. So Aries, I'm going to give you a rundown of some of these. I have it listed just a few here, but I want to give you some more while you're just in a listening mode. So the zodiac signs rule parts of the body. It's kind of how it goes. There's more, but I wanted to just give you a handful. We can dig into this more so. But anyway, the Aries, is it's got rules the head, the brain, the eyes, as in the sense of sight itself, and then the blood as a circulatory system, and the adrenals. Now, some of these will be shared. I didn't list that on all of them, but the adrenals are shared with Libra and Mars. And you think, well, why might that be? Aries, you can see, is works adrenaline. It's ruled by Mars. Mars wants to get things done. Aries wants to get things done. It's going to just adrenal its way through things. So, you'll see maybe blood sugar problems because it needs to, be fueling the muscles, so that's one side of Aries. But anyway, the adrenaline is, it's kind of ruled by Mars, but then it's also sitting on top of the kidneys, which are ruled by Libra. So we've got a few things. We got Mars and Libra also sharing that with Aries. But anyway, blood pressure would be kind of under the Aries rule. And then you could also say, is the mineral deposits collect in the vessel. That could also be some, you have Saturn or Capricorn, and then you can also have the reason they're there is because the blood vessel is scarred. So there's some more inflammation, which is again ruled by Mars. Back to Aries again. All right, so we have the cranium, we have the upper jaw and teeth, and the entire brain in general. Okay, some easy ways to think about it. Now, as you're coming down into Taurus, we have the lower jaw and teeth, the neck, the throat, the top of the shoulders, like the clavicles. Did I write that down for you? Yeah, clavicles. Top of shoulders, lower head, jaw, teeth, ears, the tonsils, the tongue. Now, some of this is shared with other organs too, so I'm just going to go over what Taurus is. The vocal cords, salivary glands, the hypothalamus, the pons, the medulla, The thyroid, big one for Taurus, and that could, I mean, it rules metabolism, and Taurus has a tendency, it's fixed, so it has a tendency to be more heavy, maybe more weight, put on more weight. The parotid gland, the cervical nerves and vertebra, including the atlas and axis, the neck muscles, swallowing reflex, as it's right there, the epiglottis, the jugular veins, and the carotid arteries. A lot right in that little space there. All right, the Gemini, the more of the shoulder itself. The Taurus is just kind of coming into those attachments on top of the clavicle and maybe the first rib up in there. But generally the shoulders, arms, hands, fingers are all Gemini, and you'll find Gemini people very dexterous. They're maybe percussionists, drummers, using their hands, jugglers, keyboard players, usually ambidextrous, and it also goes with the whole nervous system, ruled by Gemini. And now we also have the lungs, the bronchial tubes, because the lungs are right in the upper cavity. The clavicle, the bottom part of the clavicle, the scapula, the radius and ulna, the wrists and forearms, the speech centers in the brain, the peripheral or afferent nerves, and coordination. The upper body, more total that coordination, as we'll see Sagittarius, and where those nerve plexus go with that sacral part, that's more walking coordination in a minute. And then the breaths, inspiration, Gemini breathes in, and another sign we'll talk about in a minute, breathes out. Okay, so Cancer, the lower lungs, the meninges in the plural, the lungs and heart area, the thoracic duct, the lower esophagus, and the hiatus area and the diaphragm. That would be where you get like a hiatal hernia, right where the esophagus joins that top part of the the stomach, the diaphragm area, and it's where that esophagus enters the stomach. So we have the upper digestion mainly being ruled by Cancer. So that's like the thought of food, salivating, the smell, it's like certain senses, but then it comes down into the stomach. It's happy, it wants to digest, and it's in a good digestion mode, that where the digestive juices are like being stimulated, those glands that produce we're making hydrochloric acid, we're making pepsin, the stomach is starting to secrete those digestive juices, let's just put it that way, where happy digestion can take place. So that's the upper part. Also the chest, the breasts, the mammary glands, the rib cage, which would be the side. You can see how the ribs go around over there. Temperature regulation. You'd think also with with Taurus being rule of the thyroid, that the temperature regulation, because it has a association with the hypothalamus and the thalamus. Also the posterior pituitary, the gums, the umbilicus, female fertility in general, lactation, and the uterus when pregnant. Also mucous membranes and general moisture level of the internal organs. That would make sense, because Cancer, it's, moist, it's wet, it's nurturing. It's a water sign. Remind me to take a drink. Okay. I wouldn't, some of this isn't right on this chart I grabbed here. Like, it's like Cancer is not really the alimentary system per se. But anyway, I wanted you something to look at. Okay, Leo, the heart itself, the aorta, the whole beat of the heart, the heart muscle, the way that it's divided into the chambers, the upper back and cardiac system, the dorsal vertebra and general spinal alignments, along with Capricorn. Capricorn would also rule that. but the general alignment, because it's not such it's a softer bony place, so to speak. The spinal sheaths that that cover the spine, and the gallbladder is it's shared with Capricorn, Mars, and Saturn. There's a lot of things that come up when there's gallbladder. It's a storage tank. It holds the bile, which digests fats. It's a sphincter. There's a sphincter in there. It makes stones. That's why it's Saturn ruled too, or Capricorn, because if that bile isn't smooth and thin to act like a liquid soap, it's going to get clogged up. Stones will form in there, and it'll clog up the little duct, and then we'll have problems. So that's the stone part is lack of hydration, that Capricorn or Saturn type energy, which makes more stones, deposits, things like that. All right, and then if we had a Mars part involved in that, that would be when it was maybe acute or really inflamed. All right. The latissimus dorsi, that big muscle on either side of the spine, going up and down the whole back, that whole muscle there is related to Leo. All right, Virgo. Now we start into the alimentary, and the upper intestines. The small intestine would be more Virgo, where the large intestine would be more Scorpio. And if you think about the symbol itself, the symbol of Virgo, that with those loops, that looks like a small intestine. And then with Scorpio, the big loops, and then the arrow, which is like then loop de loo, and then out the poo. That's the eliminative part of Scorpio, so the large intestine on that one. But it's interesting, the symbol itself. So anyway, Virgo, along with the upper intestines, we have the liver and the pancreas, the digestive part of the pancreas, not the hormonal part of that to do with diabetes. This would be more the digestive part of it. So liver, pancreas, and spleen, because the spleen is scrubbing the blood, and that's a very Virgoan kind of thing, cleaning the blood. Also the ascending colon, where, the whole colon itself is Scorpio, but the ascending part, when it's coming off of the end of the small intestine, that ileocecal valve area, right in there. Okay, let's see, ascending colon, I said share with Scorpio. The autonomic nervous system, especially the sympathetic nerves, because the sympathetic dominance, that is where you go into fight or flight. That's when that's like, no, we cannot digest, we can't relax, we have to get up and run. That's the sympathetic, and that's the kind of nervous side of Virgos, where they can't relax. They're very intelligent, because they're just Virgos working overtime, with all the analyzing that it does. So that is that more of the sympathetic, or we'll see the opposite. Pisces is that parasympathetic. That's the chill out, man. You smoke another one, come on, let's go see, Grateful Dead, come on. That's Pisces, just that space out type. So that would be the sympathetic or the parasympathetic, or the relax mode, which is good for, digestion and relaxation, but everything in its order. All right. Also, Virgo, the portal circulation, the portal with your liver, where the blood vessels go into it, circulation, and the detoxification pathways, all the detox pathways, phase 1, phase 2 is all Virgo ruled. It's got to be, keep track of all that. Oh, acetylation and glycination, and all these pathways that the liver uses. All right, now going into the second half, Libra rules a lot of the acid alkaline balance, the kidneys, the salt and fluid balance, as well as all the fluid, I'm saying sodium potassium pump. Also the lower back, lumbar, and buttocks, although the buttocks is shared with like Libra as well, and Scorpio. But the sense of balance, and then also we mentioned the adrenals with Libra. All right, Scorpio. Scorpio is the excretory system. We said, where you poop and where you pee, the bladder and the bladder sphincter. When there's distended bladders, we've got both Virgo and Scorpio, because the Virgo is that area also, it's distension, and then the Scorpio is that bladder too. So we have genital, sexual organs, the cervix, the uterus itself when not pregnant, the urethra, the whole bladder, it's like getting rid of, you got to pee and you got to poo. So the areas that you pee and poo through is the Scorpio. It's all that nasty stuff, right? The large intestine, the prostate, rectum, anus, the sweat glands, the sacrum, the tonsils, along with Taurus, because those are excretory organs. It's lymphatic tissue, and then also the nose. It's like more embryologic, but usually there's some kind of funny nose thing. And then again, when you get constipated, when you're plugged up, when there's something wrong with your colon, you're going to start having nose drips, like, and sneezing and congested, because of the colon or the excretory routes are plugged up. Or if you have like an irritant in your nose, and like, those cells just plug up, that's, you can apply some water or warmth or Scorpio remedies that'll open that up. Smell some of those, like wintergreen or something like that. All right, Sagittarius. The hips, the thighs, the femur. Let's also say the psoas muscle and iliopsoas, the iliacus, the femoral and sacral arteries, and arterial circulation in general. The lower spinal nerves, the buttocks, shared again with Libra and Scorpio, the coordination process of the central nervous system, the motor nerves, the voluntary muscular system, the sacrum and coccyx, and the breath's expiration. I'll unpack that a little bit. The psoas muscle starts with a P, PSOAS. That one is a fight or flight muscle. We find all the time whenever there's stressors on the body, and it doesn't have to be just emotional stress. It could be anemia. It could be more and more often we're finding the electromagnetic fields. People with your routers, your Wi-Fi, your routers on, the cordless routers, all of these gaming systems, the wireless systems that are just, everybody's got, we've got a ton of these wireless systems. This all is total noise on the body, and it's very stressful to the whole nervous system. So when the nervous system gets stressed like that, one of the psoas muscles usually tightens, and it pulls the head of the femur into the socket. So it affects the way the femur is, the way you walk. You get the hip problems. One hip will go, the foot will turn outward on, it'll make one side not be able to hold in place. It'll weaken the muscle, and the muscle could also fall out, and it can't hold the femur in. So it can go either way. But that's huge at stress, and then that muscle, once you work out that psoas muscle, a lot of times those hip problems go away. Or the iliacus muscle. If you have a massage therapist or a chiropractor, you can tell them about those muscles. Don't tell them why. But you can say, can you work on my psoas muscles when I'm in severe stress, or my iliacus, or, before you adjust me, or, if you're a massage therapist, they can work, whoever can work that whole area. Okay. The coordination process, that's also because those nerves are going through, the coccyx, the sacrum, coming, from the spinal cord, going down the legs. So there can be problems with coordination. So people with, a lot of Sagittarius influences could have some coordination issues there sometimes. All right, Capricorn, the skin itself, it's a covering. It's a covering. So it in general is ruled by Capricorn. Also the ligaments, tendons, and the cuticles. A lot of heavy Capricorns always have messed up cuticles. You look at their fingers and you'll see their cuticles look terrible. Or they chew their nails. They may need minerals, so they're cribbing. They're just chewing on that stuff. The skeletal system in general, joints, bones, teeth, and then the specific part of the body would be like the knees and the patella. And then we also have the anterior pituitary. Aquarius, the calves, the shins, and mainly the ankles. I would say the ankles just, when people trash their ankles, they've got some Aquarius stuff going on. And people mess their ankles up all the time. It's just a very feeble kind of joint. And then the calf muscle, too. We'll go into that another time. Venous circulation, because it's blood coming back. It's opposite of Leo. Leo is the blood coming, the oxygenated blood coming out of the heart. Now Aquarius is the venous blood being returned to the heart to get oxygenated and to get more blood, more oxygen into the blood. Funny enough, Aquarius or moon in Aquarius, maybe even Aquarius rising, people have always problem like got to have the window open or got to have moving air because there's a problem there. They're not, that's inherently lack of oxygen because it rules the venous return. I know that's totally for me. I've got Aquarius moon and I've got to have moving air. Having a fan on at night is a must. A window open, gotta be different times of year. It's like it just has to be. Also, the rods and cones of the eyes and the pyramidal tract of the spinal cord, Aquarius. And the last one is Pisces. So we've got the feet and the toes, of course, fluids in the body, more water, the lymphatic system. And then here again, like we mentioned before, opposite of Virgo, we have the parasympathetic or the relaxation, digestion, help the immune system part of the nervous system. It also works, rules sleep, Pisces, because it's like the unconscious, right? Subconscious influence on health. Cellular hydration, absolutely. The cecum and duodenum shared with Virgo. And then this is interesting, the porousness of the digestive tract. It's like when you get leaky gut, the integrity of the tissue is weak. And that would also be like the absorption of nutrients in the intestinal wall, in the small intestine and the pituitary. And those are some big influences on this. And I ran through a lot of that, and I know I've given you a lot of information. We'll pick this up deeper probably next time. But what I want you to start thinking about is how some of these can interact. And let's just go through a little bit of how some of these things are. So if you have, let's pick on the Scorpio Aries thing again. If you have Scorpio rising, then you have Aries in the 6th house of health. And if you have Aries in the 6th house of health, you could be prone to like headaches, it's the house of health, Aries thing, right? Mental or neurological problems, more so. What else could we have? We've got, we could have weak eyes, that the Scorpio could have, the rising Scorpio could have that. Those are some good ones. What else? If you have Sag ascendant, you could have, and you have Taurus now on in the 6th house. So if Taurus is on the 6th house, you could be prone to respiratory conditions like bronchitis, neck problems, cervical problems, thyroid problems. And that could be like throat problems, a gravelly voice, congested mucus, whenever that's out of whack, more so than normal. If you have a Capricorn ascendant, you have Gemini on the 6th house of health. And if Gemini is there, you could be prone to nervous system problems, respiratory conditions, shoulder problems, hand and finger issues, carpal tunnel, more so than the average Gemini. And yeah, we'll stay with that. If you have an Aquarius ascendant, that means you have Cancer over in the 6th house. If you have Cancer in the 6th house, then you can be prone to breast problems. Men could have the man boobs, stomach problems, indigestion, hiatal hernia, hard time digesting certain foods, a touchy stomach. So this is Aquarius now, and you think like, wow, how could that be? If you're a Pisces ascendant, then you have Leo there. So if you have Leo on the 6th house of health, you could be prone to eye problems or disorders, heart problems, upper back problems, spinal problems or injuries, as well as blood disorders and thus skin disorders. You could be itchy skin. I know my dad has got that. He's heavy Pisces, and he's got, toxic blood. He doesn't drink water, and he's always itching skin. Always been that way. As the skin manifests the condition of the blood, i.e. toxicity. Dad, drink water. He's no fish F in it. That's what he says. Like it quotes W.C. Fields. Like, Dad, you got to drink some water. Will sparkling water do? Like, no, pure water. And he just looks at me like I have three heads. So this is what sometimes what you're up against. I mean, this is how these people are wired. We're all wired in some of that way. It's just funny when you encounter that. An Aries ascendant, and you'll have Virgo on the sixth house cusp. You have Virgo there. You'll be highly prone to nervous system problems and digestive problems. You have, again, more of a touchy stomach, maybe an irritable bowel, or, because it's not really stomach there where it's more the bowels, or maybe absorption problems. You may also have a lot of stress due to worrying so much. All that stress of worrying affects your digestion. You put yourself in sympathetic dominant in fight or flight, so then you can't eat because you don't feel like it. You're like, oh no, I guess I'm nervous stomach. I got to be totally relaxed, everything calm, cool, collected before I can digest. So Virgo also correlates to liver. So there also could be some liver problems, liver detox problems, jaundice, or just liver problems in general. Taurus ascendant, that means you have Libra on the sixth house. So now we're seeing we could get some excess stuff here. I would be thinking we could also have some sugar issues. Also prone to kidney, bladder, or urinary tract infections, UTIs, as well as low back problems. Yeah, and I'm thinking here also more of the sugar stuff because we have, the trying to be a pleasure on the pleasure part. Venus and Libra. Oh, here you go. You got Venus there. Interesting. So I think that could be excessive. If you are Gemini ascendant, then you have Scorpio on the sixth house. And this can be, problem with sexual or reproductive disorders. It could be, STDs, or maybe just problems with that whole, the functioning of the male or female reproductive system in general. Could be prone to more urinary tract infections or rectal problems. Maybe like hemorrhoids. I think of the biggest rectal problem. If you're a Cancer ascendant, then you have Sagittarius on the sixth house cusp. And there you could be prone to thigh, hip problems like sciatica, as well as like buttock problems like cellulite, stretch marks. Yeah. Psoas problems like with the leg turnout, unsteady walking. Yeah, I'm thinking if you're Leo ascendant and you have Capricorn on the sixth house cusp, then you can be prone to leg, bone, and lower skeletal problems. You could have spurs, bone spurs. You can have bone deposits. You can have uric acid deposits. You can have, like maybe where one of the toes has got a knobby joint, or where it turns. Like some people have the bunions and the toes that just go at weird angles. That could be that as well, because Capricorn there, we have those hardened areas. Could be a hardening of the arteries too. Virgo ascendant, you have Aquarius on the sixth house, so that could make you more prone to ankle problems or ankle injuries, more so than the other type. Totally, and then Venus return as well, vein problems. Could have a spider nevi veins. You could have varicose veins, distended veins. Could also have the vein problem and hemorrhoids as well. And if you're Libra ascendant, you have Pisces on the sixth house. So Pisces here is more prone to feet, toe problems. Could be a gout, could be swollen toes, could be, again, movement of that area. You get the hammer toes. You could have liver problems, liver congestion, because the lymphatic system is backed up and it's hard on the liver because it's not doing its job. What else would be there? Dealing with the waters of the body. There may be a lot of water imbalances. You get just the wrong mineral balances on this, and tendency toward dehydration. So we can see, just one thing I just mentioned, the sixth house, which is the house of health, and then we also have the 8th house and 12th house that are also problematic. But I want to share one more thing today. We'll go into this a little more. I'll get another picture. It's a painting that I did that will illustrate this more. But this is a music theory chart that I did years ago. But what I want to point out is, that there's those of you that don't, but there's basically 12 divisions on that. There's 12 keys, we're going to call them. There's 12 chromatic notes from, like I say, we took a C major, just a C note, and then you played every note black and white and you counted them until you get to the next C, and there's 12. So that's just like an astrological overlay. So what we're dealing with today was the inconjunct. So what that means, and I don't have it on here as well as you can see it, but I'm just going to go through it. If you know any music theory, every place here, gosh, how can I even say this? Let's start up here at C. Okay, so we on the very top, let's just look up here, C. So we can see we see these notes. It's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But we know there's some notes in between them, like C sharp, D sharp. There's a black note in between. And you've probably all seen this keyboard right here. You can see it just like that. So like we count, I was saying you count from like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then we're back to this one right here. You can see because it goes 2 and then 3 and then 2 and then 3. But anyway, the point that I want to make, how can I even show you? I probably didn't want to share you this picture. Anyway, from here, we're up at C. So from C down here to this group here, the F sharp, let's just look at this one, F sharp. That is an opposition. Okay, so if we're playing in this key, the opposite would be F sharp. And you can see if we just put a little sharp sign right here, that would be about halfway through the scale, right? It's like a midpoint. We put it like right there. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 this way, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 that way. So that would be our halfway point. Now, the scales on either side of that halfway would be like right there, that F, and that there, right, G. And we can, well, it is not the easiest way to see it. Let's just go this way. Okay, so here's like this way. So if we were looking at the other side of it, these keys over here would be that inconjunct to this, to this one over here. So this is C here and here would be an inconjunct. And I'll show you next week maybe with a better picture. But this is called the one in music, and there's a progression that we have called a 1, a 4, and a 5 in music, because everything, I'll have to show it to you again, that we move up like in half steps or half tones. But this little thingy here is something that drives all of modern music. Like when you've heard the blues, any blues songs, it's usually in this 1, 4, 5, no matter what key you put it. Just like we looked at Aries, like this would be Capricorn if we looked at the chart, right? And then this one would over here be Aries. So Aries ones would be this one and this one. Okay, so like if we said the E flat was Aries, Aries yucky key then would be D and E, because they would not be in the right sound as this. But when we play like a progression that way together, it sounds awesome. So listen to any blues, and that's what it sounds like. I'll go and show you another picture later, but I just wanted to hit that because that is that inconjunct, but it drives music. It's like that 1, 4, 5 pattern is what drives a lot of music, or 1, 5, 4, or just that combination of it makes us have music. So another thing, just to round it out and to be done with today, and is the power of frequency and the power of sound and music. And we can, I'll show you another time, we can use certain tones and, assign them to signs, like different scales, like the C scale, the D scale, the E scale, and be able to make resonance in certain organs, and then play songs in certain keys and have a soothing effect, where other keys might be an irritating effect. And we could see why. It's like, let's just pretend that this was the one for Aries, and I say Aries did great in the key of E flat, but then D would be like the Scorpio resonance for that, or E would be like the Virgo. But that might be helpful to balance it out if there's a problem or something there. That may be, there's something we might need to investigate in future medicine. And I'm not saying these are the exact keys. I'm just, this is the way I overlaid it on this chart, but it's just however you start. You could, if you were to say Pisces, then we would go, down here at either of these on Pisces. But I don't know if this is the exact one. This is just how I wrote it. So I wanted to share that and get you thinking a little bit about how this all goes and how we can track it astrologically. All right, that was a lot. So it's great. Hopefully you made it all the way through the end of this video, but there's a lot here and we'll unpack some more. All right, thank you for listening and more to follow. Bye for now. Hello, welcome to our weekly transits. This is Astro Breeze Carrie, and we're going to talk about a few fun events this week. So, let's go back here. Let's go to today. All right, we're the 12th today, and move this out of the way. It's funny, the stuff that's in the way for me, not for you. All right, so today you can see on our dial here that we've got a little, everything's kind of bunching up. You can see the moon is getting closer to the sun, and we should be an astute astrological student, know that we're coming into a new moon. Because if the moon is opposite the sun, we know the sun is shining on the moon, and that would be full. And whenever it's by the sun, the sun is so bright it blocks it out. So right now we're I'm trying to think if I saw Mercury just above the horizon today. I have to go look on the app, but you could definitely see Venus. But anyway, we can see that this is coming closer, and we know also that Mercury is slowing down. It's not going to move at all week. Let's just look at that a second. The degrees. Look at this is tomorrow, the next day, and then you see yeah, there it goes. I want to see where you said S. Okay, so on Saturday it's just stationed, and then it's what is that, early 3 in the afternoon East Coast time. So yeah, it's stationing there. So it's like dead stopped, so to speak, and it's really strong. So anything at in the mutable signs, you're going to get a little bit more of a hit from Mercury. Anything at the 8 or in around 8 degrees, let's give it an orb of, definitely 3 to 5. How about we say that 3 to 5 either way? So if we had, -5, it could be anything from like 3 degrees and 3 to like 13 in the mutable signs. You'll be getting a hit from this. So if it's right there in Virgo, you'll get the conjunct. And then if it's in Scorpio or Taurus, you'll get the square. And then if it's in Aquarius, you'll get the opposition. So look in your chart for anything around that, because Mercury will be, burning in. But then also see where Mercury is in your chart. It could be, if it's, Mercury, we know, is also a earth sign. So if you have anything around those degrees in earth signs, you'll be getting a trine to that. So you'll, anything in Capricorn or over in Taurus, you'll be getting a long burnout trine there from Mercury. So take advantage of that. Squares could give you some mental blocks. It could bring some things up, if you got the squares. If you got the trines, it's going to be a go mentally. If you have the stop, it could be, you could be working on things. Definitely the squares. If you got the opposition, it could be more about, getting your body, get some healthy habits going in your body. So anyway, we see that this has just been, this is slowed down now. And let's see, where's my other notes? It's not, even though it's going to be direct, it's not going to be out of its shadow for a while. So what shadow is where it was, it was trekking along. It went all the way to 21 degrees Virgo on August 23rd. That's when it went retrograde. So it had to go all the way back. It retrograded all the way back here to 8. And now it's got to go all the way back. It's got to travel through where it's been. It's got to go through. And once it hits 21 Virgo, whatever odd minutes, then it'll be in new territory. So that's going to be, around the first week of October. It actually is like the 29th is when it's out of its shadow. Let's just look at that. See, now it's going direct. See, up, 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 up. Like, right, it's going fast. 27, good 29. See, it's going real fast. It went a whole degree. So that's like October 4th. Look, before it's out of its shadow, new territory. So what do we got doing? What does that mean? We have to cover the same ground mentally, kind of going over stuff, plans, um, communications. Maybe there's some communications, some different stuff that we just have to finish and going over before we get new territory. So we can see that we've got this next 2 weeks. Let me see, it's gonna be all this 1, 2, 3, almost a month. It's like 3.5 weeks or so before it's in new territory. 1, 2, yeah, it's about 3 weeks before we get it out of that area. Now, also, Venus is kind of similar. Venus went retrograde at 28 Leo on July 23rd. Where's Venus at? It's right here. And it was at 28 Leo. So it retrograded all the way back to, where did it go? I thought I wrote that down. Oh, shoot. I forgot. Anyway, it was not too long ago. It retrograded back. And then now, let's see, it went direct on the 4th. Well, let's just go back. It's not that much farther. Let's go back. See, how far did it go? Okay, it was at like 12. You can see it stationary there. So it retrograded back. If we went one more day, you'll see it retrograde. 2 more days. Okay. You can see that was at 12 degrees, like on the 2nd, so that's where it was. And then it's starting back direct, and it's got to go out of its shadow. It was at 28 degrees. So let's just look and see when it's the 1st of October. It's got to go to 28. There we go. So it's got to go to 28, and that is like what, October 7th, and then it will be in new territory. So kind of like, we have Mercury getting into new territory at the very first week, and then while we have of October, and then we'll have Venus starting, it'll be approaching its new territory. So again, it's like you get what you wanted, it's like you get your deserved. It's like it's coming, it's stuff that we did during that retrograde. Now it's coming back to us, and then we get to experience that, and then get into the newness of new territory of new Venus things that we want, like need, more things that we get to draw to us. And I think this is good while we use this little fiery energy before Venus goes into, it will then go into Virgo in October. So take advantage of this little bit of time here while those 2 planets are getting out of their shadow and, finishing things up, so you can make room for the new territory. And this will all, can't do 2 things at once. This will all give us, once this is all in new area, we'll have all the inner planets going direct, and we'll still have all the outer planets, kind of taking a break. So this is kind of nice that we get the outer planets a little sleeping while we got the inner planets moving ahead. And we're getting this nice lineup here in Virgo, and we're coming into the Virgo new moon on the weekend, or Friday, Saturday, wherever you're at. So during this moon, this is our Virgo new moon. New moons, should be times when we do, start new projects. And this is great for Virgo. It's like, this is great for if you have to move, if you have to do work, if you have to paint, if you got to clean your house, if you got to organize, get rid of stuff. This is the time to do all of that. We've been kind of into that since Mars worked on it, was in there. I remember we talked about when Mars was in Virgo, go, get that stuff done, and then now we got, it led the crew, Mars, the pioneering, like, I'll lead, I'll show you, I can clean. Mars, Mr. Clean, just goes in. But now the sun, and then Mercury, and then we'll have the new moon here, and then Venus will come up with pleasures in there. It's like, making it nice and clean for Venus, she'll at least have a nice house that she can kind of have pleasure in. That's kind of what we're doing. So that's all, use this energy, because we're all slobs. I know people, we think sometimes, we're good. I mean, there's the clean and neat freaks out there, but for the most part, we get accumulate so much stuff, and it's hard to just, put throw shit away. So anyway, use this time to do that. So that's the really the biggest things that we've got going on. When Mercury is going over here, it starts in making an opposition to Saturn. It didn't quite retrograde all the way back there, and then this is still retrograding back. So it will, it's brushing in on that. So it's kind of it's a far away opposition here. Did I say square? If I did, I'm sorry. It's a far away opposition, but we still have that little bit of an influence there. Um, of dissolving, getting rid of, throwing away, Pisces, all that old stuff, and let that Virgo, that Mercury likes to be there. It's exalted there. So let it do its thing. Just, it's okay. Throw it away. If you haven't used it, donate it, throw it away. It's better Zen, better feng shui to have less clutter, put it that way. I think that's true for everybody. So the Saturn is going to just be there a little bit. It's not a big influence. Those are kind of the big ones. Let's see. The moon, you can see, moves over there. Then the moon goes in Libra, and it makes aspects there to Mars. Not a lot of other big ones. We've got Venus making a square. We've had that now. It's over. We've had it before, over to Jupiter. So this is kind of like, maybe watch your spending. Maybe, yeah, or look for bargains. Again, throw things away, get organized. That's kind of like putting that in place. Let's see, what do we got here? If it's in natal, I love this. Okay, can tend to be extravagant. Okay, yeah. So watch that spending. Uh huh. And we go quick. We went over Saturday, Sunday. Anything else? Kind of made an aspect over. Kind of didn't do Mars. It's like ahead of it, isn't it? Yeah. So it's Venus is tracking ahead of Mars there. It's not making the aspect there. Okay. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And again, I'm just going, I should probably add in the outer planets. They're not moving a whole lot right now, so I just got them out of the picture. Probably wondering about that. It's like, why did she have the outer planets on there? It's not a whole lot of action right now on that, and I was wanting to see the inner planets more. Sometimes it's, I like them as when they actually change and do things. Otherwise, it's more generational, and it kind of gets in the way of maybe daily things. If it's something happening, a change of sign or change of direction, then I'll pull them in. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So get into this energy here we got going on, this good Virgo stuff and this good, nice new moon. All right. So I guess that is all for today. Thank you all for coming. See you next time. Bye for now.